Hello everyone, this is In-Game Art with another boxing of the Offline Party Game Review. This is the Fighting Legends pack for the PlayStation 4. Now this pack collection comes with 2 physical copy games. These 2 collection of games is Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection International, as well as the Capcom Fighting Collection. Now each game and collection is its own separate disc, as well as that this was only available in Japan, and so these physical copies are the Japan versions of the game. Now they may be in Japan region, but they do support full English menus and English voice acting. Now I wanted to pick this up and cover it because not only did I want to, of course, collect these classic collections, but there was a very specific reason why you really wanted to pick up this Fighting Legends pack, and that is for the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection International. But before we go super into depth to that, I want to talk about each physical copy. Starting off with the Capcom Fighting Collection, the on-disc version is 1.0, but sadly there was a very small update. This update size was 22 megabytes big and will take you to version 1.03 since the time making this video, and as well I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. Now, this update basically said bug fixes. Now, like always, I play all my games completely offline with an unregistered account, and I can't notice any problems or issues throughout the portions that I played throughout the game. The next up is the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection International. This comes with the version 1.0 on disc, and at the time I did this video, there were no updates available. And as well, I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. So it's really nice to see these two physical copies with the complete physical copy, and one that nearly has no updates. I mean, it was a 22 megabyte update. It didn't really say too much other than just, of course, simple bug fixes and little tweaks and alterations. But other than that, I never experienced any massive glowing problems. Now, the big point I wanted to point about this Fighting Legends pack is that this pack came with Street Fighter the 30th Anniversary Collection International. Why this is very important is that the international version of the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection was only available, of course, in the Japan region area, or in terms of trying to get a physical copy. Why it's important is that the international version comes with both the American version and the Japan versions of the Street Fighter games all on disc. Eventually, the international copy was starting to get extremely expensive. I've seen copies going from like $120 to even $150 for a new copy. So it was getting really difficult to get the international version of the Street Fighter collection. Thankfully, this Fighter Legends pack came with it, so it was the most cheapest, quickest, easiest way to get the international copy. Now, I don't know anything about the American version of the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. Maybe eventually that version did get an update to include the Japan versions. But as you've seen, the international version here had no updates. So it has the most complete version of the games, and it has the Japan versions on the disc. Now, again, I haven't played the American version of the Street Fighter Collection. That may have gotten an update. I can't see why it wouldn't, but again, if it didn't, that would mean the international version is a very sought-after one because it not only has the American version, it also has the Japan versions. Now, a lot of people might be wondering why is that such a big deal, and I'm not entirely sure myself why that is. Now, granted, there are some minor alterations between the American version and the Japan versions of Street Fighter games. Not only just because of certain names and stuff like that, but certain characters do have different names as well. Like someone like M. Bison. His name was not M. Bison in Japan. I think his name was Vega in Japan, while there was a mistranslation in the America, and we called him M. Bison. Which is funny because I kind of like Bison more than Vega. But anyway, there could be other alterations because back in this time and these older times in gaming, sometimes the Japan version and the American version could have some alterations, like maybe difficulty, certain moves, or how much damage it does. I don't know the deep, rich lore of the universe of Street Fighter and the different versions, but I do know it was a big deal for fighting enthusiasts that they tried to get the international version for the Japan versions of the game. So there could be some significant difference between the American and Japan versions. I'm not a fighting game enthusiast, and I'm not a fighting Street Fighter fan, so I don't know the ins and outs. But I just want to let you know why it was very important for me to pick up this Fighting Legends pack was just for the international version of Street Fighter collection. Now, for the Capcom Fighting Collection, I believe it's the same identical as the American version, other than just, of course, the cases in Japanese. So I don't really see much difference there. Maybe there's a big difference. I don't have the American version, so let me know if it has only like a 22 megabyte update. I'm not sure, but I wish I could go on super detailed, but other than that, that's all about the slew of information I can provide about this Legends pack and why it was important to pick it up, and I don't know what it's going for now. But I will point out that the Capcom Fighting Collection has two games that are only in Japanese, and that is the Vampire Hunter 2 and Vampire Survivor 2. Those are the only two games that are in Japanese. I'm assuming this is the same applies to the American version as well, because I'm assuming that Vampire Hunter 2 and Vampire Survivor 2 just never had US releases, so they just ported the Japan versions onto the disc. A little disappointing. It seems like a missed opportunity to translate those, but at least they're on the disc because it is a fighting game. at this time point, fighting game stories were not that rich and not that most important part. It was just the gameplay and just playing the game. So, but all the menus that Japan won, the Vampire Hunter 2 and Vampire Survivor 2, still has English menus and stuff like that. It's just the story parts of the game is in Japanese. Other than that, I pretty much beat the majority of every one of these in every collection here. I beat at least them all in certain degrees. For the life of me, I tried, guys. I could not beat any of the Street Fighter 2 ones. Every variation, I could not beat it. Other than, I think, one of the alpha ones I did beat. But even putting the game on the easiest difficulty, I could not beat any of the Street Fighter 2 games. Maybe one of them I'm not thinking of. But all the Capcom Fighting Collection ones I did beat, or at least beat it with one character or maybe two characters, because I tried to explore as much as I could. So excuse me that I could not 100% complete all of them, but then this collection would take forever if I wanted to try to beat with every single character and try to get everything to make sure everything was 100%. But for the most part, everything worked fine, other than you might have some minor slowdown. But that slowdown I don't think really has anything to do about a bad port. It's just those were the games, how they were back then, because these are emulating the arcade versions of the game. So that's better graphics, better sprite works, as well as that they have the same slowdowns that the arcade version used to have. Now, that is purposely implemented in the game. Some might still be issued with that slowdown, because it's not just like when you defeat your opponent, he does a slow animation when he falls to the ground. There is still that slow animation, like when you shoot the Hadoken, and they're like he gets hit in midair, and there's some slowdown and stuff like that. So you will still probably have some issues with that. That's about it. There's nothing really other than just that minor those little issues that I could not beat Street Fighter 2's, most of them, as well as Street Fighter 1. For the life of me, I could not even beat the first opponent in Street Fighter 1. That game doesn't even control very good, so I wouldn't even really bother with that. So I just want to point out that I'm not a fighting game enthusiast. I am not someone who really gets into fighting games. I did have some minor enjoyment in certain Street Fighter, especially the later ones, like Street Fighter 3, Sudden Strike, I think it's called, or something like that. I did enjoy certain elements and stuff like that, and I was having some of a good time, but I play fighting games very casually. I don't try to be the best. I usually put computer on the easiest difficulty, and I still sometimes get my butt kicked, because I'm just not really good at fighting games. I don't hate them, or don't think they have any value. Like, I don't look at them like open world games, where I do look at open world games. I openly do not like open world games. I hate them. I do believe they do damage to the gaming industry. While something like fighting games, I see the potential of what people enjoy out of them. I clearly just, they're not for me. And I can acknowledge that they're a game that is not for me. And that's a big difference. It's like a shoot 'em up. I acknowledge that those are game types that are not for me, but I can see the value in it. While some like open world games, or huge open world games, to be specific, I see no value in them. They're just, I think that that's not my hate, it's just because I don't see no value in that game design. While something like a fighting game, while I'm not a fan of it, I see the enjoyment people can have from it. I mean, I still had some fun with the game and everything like that, and the collection was fairly good to have a variety of fighting games. I do admit my most favorite one out of them all was Super Gym Fighters. That one was really fun. I liked the cartooniness, the chibi look and everything like that, and the characters doing cameos of other Capcom games, like Chun-Li transforming into Jill Valentine and shooting a rocket and stuff. I love that. That was very charming and interesting for the fighting game. But overall, I did have fun with this collection. Now, you could probably just pick up the American versions. You probably don't have to go out of your way to get this named Fighting Legends pack. The only reason, like I said, I picked it up is for the international version of Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. Now, that's up to you whether you want to go out of your way to get the international version. As I said, the only difference you're really going to get is that it comes with the Japan versions of Street Fighter, the Street Fighter games. Now, whether you care about that, or if you're big into the Street Fighter, you like to see maybe that there's some subtle differences, it's really up to you on that. I really don't have no professional or any deep knowledge in that area. But in the end, Street Fighter is a legendary game that really broke down a lot of interesting barriers and stuff like that in the gaming industry. For like the most part is that, of course, it had the fluid animations, the gameplay was fast, rewarding, it's challenging, as well as it was a big arcade game back in that time point. Hey, I mean, it's a good collection if you want to buy the American versions. I assume they're pretty much identical, other than the international version, of course, of Street Fighter collection. But In my humble opinion, I couldn't be more happier with this collection, with both the international version being most complete on disc, and then the Capcom Fighting Collection having a small little 22 megabyte update. I wish it didn't have an update. I wish it would have made sure it was fully done physical copy, but I mean, nowadays it's almost impossible to get any developer to release a finished done product before release. But in the end, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you found this video informative and interesting. And as I said, man, it's not maybe for you to go out of your way to spend that kind of money for this collection, but at that time point of its release, it was really important for me to pick it up for the international version of Street Fighter. That's up to you if you want to go out of your way to try to get it part of your collection. It's not required if you just want to play Street Fighter, but then maybe there's some subtle things about the Japan-American version that I just don't know. So like always, thank you all so much for watching. I will try to leave links to down in the description. I will try to leave links down to the Legendary pack, the Fighting Legends pack. But I mean, you could easily find American versions. They're the same names. It's just not the Japan version. So in the end, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next unboxing video. Bye-bye!